What is up, everybody? This is your host, Patrick Coyne.
Co-host, co-pilot, Javon Harrison in the building. Welcome back.
And this is the Black Sheep Experience. Please like, subscribe, and give us a follow. If not, we're both going to sleep great tonight. Welcome to the show. What is up, Black Sheep world? Welcome back to episode 2. It is your host, Patrick Coyne.
Co-host, co-pilot, Javon Harrison. Welcome back.
Hey, Frank DeJulius.
Frankie.
David Whelan, adaptive athlete.
Now, everyone knows what me and Javon do. It looks like we're actually drinking some tequila right now. This is coffee and water. I promise he's a training athlete right now.
No one knows what's in my cup, though.
No, but I just always like to give an opportunity for we'll get into more depth about our stories, but what is a elevator pitch on Frank DeJulius? What do you do? Where are you from? And what do you love?
Yeah, man. Well, thanks for having me, guys.
No doubt.
I'm from Ohio. I'm from up north.
Yeah.
I'm an Ohio boy. Cleveland specifically.
Good job from Cleveland.
That's right. I own a company called Fleet Feet, and Fleet Feet's a specialty retail shop. We've got 8 locations in town, and what we're known for is fitting. We'll fit you personally, for whatever. I mean, we're most known for footwear, so we fit shoes mainly, but we'll fit your nutrition plan. We'll fit an athlete for really anything they need, all the way down to socks, insoles. The females do sports bras, that kind of thing. So it's a retail experience, but it's one-on-one. That's what we really do. We take you in as a customer and just put our arm around you and use some really cool technology. We use some really cool personal one-on-one time to just make sure that you, as an athlete, whatever your goals are, whatever your motivations are, we take care of you from a gear perspective. We also do training. We train people for anything from a first 5K to ultra races, triathlons, marathons. We're the largest training center for that in Southwest Ohio.
Very easily. If you live in the Kenwood, Blue Ash, Oakley, he's got like 8 stores, and you see a large, massive group of people running, it's coming from Fleet Feet. Yeah. You're also an athlete.
Yeah. From day one when I started this thing, I didn't get into the business for the business. I got into it because I'm an athlete, and that's always stuck with me. I'll never not be an athlete as long as I do this. So
what do you do? What's your...
I'm a triathlete. I mean, I'm in endurance. I was just telling Dave, I'm an endurance athlete. I've done endurance swimming events, cycling events, running events, but triathlon is my main sport. So I race primarily the half Ironman and Olympic distance triathlon.
I am by far the worst runner at this table. I'm out of my league.
He's got some screws loose, folks. Triathletes are crazy in a good way, but
there's 2 in the room, so.
Oh,
there's actually 3 runners in the room.
I'm not
weightlifting.
I can't claim that. You guys are.
But
the pros.
I will say real quick, just quick shout out. My triathlon career is 15 years long, but it took a really good upward trajectory 2.5 years ago when I stumbled into Black Sheep. So
Okay,
we'll get into that.
Shout
Don't
out.
make me blush. Dave.
Yeah, I am from a small town called Rancho Cucamonga, California. It is about an hour.
that's workaholics, right?
No, that's where my wife's from.
Is it really?
Yeah, she lived in the Upland Empire, born in Rancho Cucamonga.
I was born
there.
in Upland. What? Yeah. Wow, that's crazy.
Sorry, we can talk about that later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my eyes just got like that big.
Yeah, grew up, I was born in Upland. I grew up in Rancho Cucamonga. Floated all around the Inland Empire.
Wow.
I moved here from Long Beach, California.
What brought you here?
My girlfriend.
Love that.
She got accepted into a PhD program over at UC for a classics program, and never knew about Cincinnati. It was definitely a sleeper place for us that wasn't even really on the map, and came out here, checked it out, and just really, really fell in love with the spot. So
Yeah, so what do you do?
I'm a triathlete. I'm trying to be a triathlete. Well, I competed last season in para-triathlon. So my goal is essentially to be a professional athlete, triathlete. Right now my focus is triathlon. I'm very much so trying to cross-train in a little bit of everything right now, but the focus being para-triathlon.
For those who don't know, can you explain what a triathlon is?
Yeah, so it is swimming, biking, and then running, and then you got transition as well, which is considered the 4th discipline. But yeah, it is. It's trying to be good at 3 different disciplines, and make them work in unison with each other and try and be as fast as possible. So Frank does what's considered long course. I do what's considered short course. So I do like sprint triathlons. So my races are over a lot quicker compared to Frank. So
That's right.
Yeah.
So I think we all love a sense of community. I think we're all a part of a community much bigger than ourselves, which is the outlier community. People that think a little different, move a little different, walk a little different, talk a little different. I would like to talk about the community that you're a big part of, and that you're a big kind of the face of a community in a city, and trying to bring more funding, more awareness, and more care to your community. And what community is that?
Yeah, so being from Southern California, it's like the land of milk and honey for an adaptive athlete. Mm-hmm. Everything that you could possibly want to do is out there. There's different clinics for everything. There's accessibility for everything. You could do several different things on a weekend, and it's completely awesome. One of the things that I noticed about Cincinnati is there's necessarily not that accessibility for adaptive athletes, and there's not really that community out here. So what I'm trying to do is very much so build that community. I believe that we are communal animals. We thrive in a sense of community. Movement is medicine. Let's get people off the couch and give them something to put their goals and energy into, find that community that helps them thrive, and really just get them out and moving. So I'm working with a local foundation to really just build an adaptive sports community. So I really want to focus on running, cycling, and swimming predominantly. Also, if I can try and do something with para-triathletes in the city, that's definitely my focus quite a bit.
Similar question to Javon. What is an adaptive athlete for people who don't know? Because I did not know.
Yeah, so an adaptive athlete is someone that has like limb deficiency, or someone that is like visually impaired. What else? Yeah, so with what I do, there's multiple different classifications of people, and you're classified based on your level of disability. So like me, I'm a below knee amputee, so I have a certain classification. Then above knee amputee has another classification. Then there's bilateral, above knee, below knee classifications. There's visually impaired, and then there's like categories for people that have like multiple sclerosis and cerebral palsy and stuff like that. So
amazing,
interesting,
inspiring, right?
Yeah. No. So next question, and I just want to build on that a little bit. Dave, you're a builder. Frank, you're a builder. I think we're builders. Pat, we got builders at the table. That's what we're doing for the Midwest. We're trying to build this up, just like the West Coast. We've been down south, Florida, Miami. Yep. Frank, you've been all over the place with running with your company, all these events and cool stuff you get to go to, which we'll talk about. But that's what we're doing for the Midwest. That's why we're doing this podcast. We're building this up, right? We want to see the resources elsewhere now in the city, and that's what we're going to do. So I really appreciate somebody like Dave leading the charge, leading the way on that. Leads me to my next question. As Pat alluded to, we got two runners. I wouldn't consider myself a runner at all.
Tripping. Why?
I like to run. I like to run.
But why, though? Because you're not doing it at the highest level competitively anymore? Because
absolutely. I feel like I got to give that respect to people who really do that. I do it for fun and for my soul.
He could do it competitively, and we know he could. Like right now.
Maybe.
It's an interesting thing, though. Most people walk into our stores, and the first thing out of their mouths is, I'm not a runner.
What do you classify as a runner? That's what I'm saying. Because you're the one who helped me get into running. And I think it's because you're like, Pat, you talk a lot of shit. Here's some running shoes, bitch.
Let's go.
He just popped up on the gym with me one day with runners. I'm like, I got to put these to the concrete.
It's pulling your car, man.
I think most people are uncomfortable self-identifying as a runner because they think that means they have to run a marathon or sign up.
I got to run a 4-minute mile.
Yeah, if you run, if you are capable of running, I think you deserve to be a runner.
Okay.
Call yourself a runner. You're an athlete, man.
Yeah.
You're a football player.
Okay.
You're
I'm a runner out here.
The community,
You're right. You're right. And that's a huge thing and something Black Sheep has gotten into. And I love that all of our people now run. And I want to say it's ultimately because of you, Frank.
Frank inspired it.
Frank inspired it. I think we started last Sober October and doubled it up this Sober October.
My back went out last Sober October trying to run. That's when Frank got me this shit. So I'm like, bro, I can't do this.
We need to do better. Yeah.
Frank can't do this. With my first running shoes. Literally went in the store trying on shoes. He walks in.
Is that how'd you guys meet?
So
we met at a race.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Organic.
Yes.
very incredibly organic. Yeah. So I bought my house and I came out here to do inspection on the house and everything. And I really I amputated my foot for the dream of running again. Like that was always everything that I only wanted to do was to run again.
And you were a runner big time before
No.
the accident?
No, not at all. Not even close.
So losing your
Interesting.
foot made you want, I mean, did it make you appreciate obviously running more? And that's what kind of pushed you to be like, all right, dude, I'm going to do this full speed.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, the saying, you really don't know what you got till it's gone kind of thing, like that there's a lot of truth behind that. And you don't realize how short life is and opportunities until you start having things taken away, right? So, like, I very much so, you know, my dream was to run again. I held on to that for 7.5 years throughout my injury. You know, that was an aggressive injury. But yeah, like that was my entire why. And, you know, in terms of kind of growing in where we're at and building something new, I'm always trying to continue to raise my bar. So like I started running again, and then from there I'm like, all right, crap, let's do a triathlon, right? Let's really challenge myself. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, I met Frank at a race. I came here to do the house inspection, saw that there was a community of runners. It's like, okay, well, there's it was a 5K, I believe it was the Huggins 5K,
It was,
right?
yep. Huggins Homecoming.
Huggy Bear.
Okay, Huggy Bear.
Which you guys were at the
It was that same year. It was,
it was
okay.
the fundraiser. Yeah,
Ah.
that's right.
Very
Good
nice.
night. Good night.
Went down there and ran it. Ended up running into Frank there and met him, and yeah, just kind of been.
I think the next week we met at the store and got you in some shoes. Or I don't know if it was the next week, but it was soon after.
Yeah, it was sometime, and then yeah, was looking for some shoes. He ends up walking in the door. I'm like, hey, Frank, you know what's going on, man? You know, trying to talk to him about stylish shoe. I'm trying to get it to match my running blade. He's like, oh, have you seen these shoes before? Like, no, I really weren't on my radar. Like, I know Brooks. That was you know, all I was in before that. But he was like, yeah, try these on.
This man knows shoes like nobody else. It's
It is,
crazy.
yeah.
The serial number, like to the numbers, is like, oh, this is a Coyne 456 ABC. Like, ooh, I got 16 pair left. I'm like, wow, that's
what I do.
impressive.
Right.
It's like you guys knowing, you know,
Yeah. He's
exercises.
So I'm reading a book, Jocko Willick's book. It's about extreme ownership and extreme leadership. Owning everything that is in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, is because of you. I'm a fan of that. I think we both are. I know you're the person who got me into Jocko. Taking 7.5 years, I would like to get into the story of your injury, but I would like to create a conversation around extreme ownership first. When you have to work for something for 7.5 years, you're making long-term sacrifices every single day. You're not taking the easy road out, because it's very easy to, well, I'll eat this because I'm hungry, versus I can't eat that because it's the long-term goal. I want to go to bed at this time because this show's on. Well, I need to sleep because I recover because I have a race in 3 months. What was, and this is an open-ended question for the table, what was the one thing in your life that actually made you nut up and take extreme ownership? I mean, I can start. It's when basically football was my entire life. I was a 4-star All-American, blah, blah, blah. Football ended and no one gave a shit. Like, no one was like, man, Pat, that dude, we're going to get him in. It's like, well, he doesn't play football, so he's useless. So I had to take ownership of my life because I didn't have any skills other than throwing a damn football and lifting weights. So taking ownership of my life and bringing that into helping other people, creating a business, etc., that was my first big thing, was that extreme failure, lack of community, lack of self-worth, didn't have anything else going. I had to take ownership because I was suicidal and depressed, you know? I don't want to make this about mental health, but what was that moment in your life where you're like, dude, screw it, I got to do this? And it's the heart. It's like a sigh, almost like, all right, here we go. I got to do it again. What was that moment?
For me, I would say when I moved back from Florida, I have a similar story to Pat, how football ended for me. Being a Division I athlete, we're taught a lot, like that is your identity. I refound myself after football and moved around the country with Pat and things like that. But when I moved back, I decided to move back to Cincinnati in Ohio. It was kind of that off the edge. I'm stepping off the edge. I have to take ownership, good, bad, or indifferent. Whatever happens, whether I fail or succeed, it is 100% on me. And I love that.
Yeah.
So it was hard for me to move back, leaving Florida, who I think Florida's an awesome place. Some people don't like it, but it's sunny pretty much every single day. You don't have to worry about what you're wearing. It's cool. There's parties all the time. You can do whatever you want to do, pretty much. But I had to take ownership of my life. I was having way too much fun down there, and
Got to stay away from the upside down pie.
I was a builder. right? I was doing things at Enterprise. It was cool. What'd you say?
You got to stay away from the upside down pineapples in Florida, though. I heard.
I don't know about anything about that. But that's when I took my extreme ownership. I took my leap of faith and bet on myself. There's no plan B. It's going to work. And that's when it happened for me. What about you, Frank?
Kind of took the words out of my mouth. It's the common theme is betting on yourself. And I did that on July 5th, 2010. Same thing. I moved sight unseen to Nashville, Tennessee, because I had an opportunity there that it was my only opportunity at the time to go work at a running store. To basically, someone said, if you ever want to move up in this world, you got to go prove yourself, and you're going to do that in Nashville. And the day after 4th of July, I literally packed the car up with everything I had, every possession I owned, and moved there hoping to get a job at a running store. I mean, I had a pretty good sense I would get it, but had never been there, did not know anybody, had one phone interview before that, and basically put the belief of in myself that this was going to work out, and really the rest is history. So I bet on myself that day and hadn't looked back. So.
There you go.
That's how it worked out for me.
Crap. I mean, for me, it really does stem around kind of the mental health aspect of things. And I know that we're not trying to take it there.
It's okay. No, I'm an advocate.
Yeah. I mean, see 988 on there. I'm an ambassador for them as well. And
Yeah.
for me, like, the world of mental health is absolutely huge. But, going through my injury for 7.5 years, I had just turned 25 when I was injured, right?
Wow.
That's kind of like that age where you're really trying to find yourself. You're still out with your boys having a great time. You're hitting up the bars, doing this, that, and the other. But, when my injury happened, party stopped for me, right? So, it's kind of when the phone calls stopped as well a little bit. And I was very much so by myself, I'm very much so an extroverted person, but I'm introverted now just purely based off survival. Like, I needed to go inwards, and I needed to find myself a little bit. And I needed to find my why. And for me, same thing, man. It was, I had a couple suicide attempts. Thank God I'm still here.
I'm glad you didn't succeed, my friend.
I appreciate
Same.
that.
Very.
I appreciate that.
100%.
But yeah, I had to hit my rock bottom, and there is so much power behind that pain of being at your rock bottom. If you choose to look at that in a different way, like if you stick in that victim mindset, for me, that was quicksand. And I knew that, yes, then I might as well just, commit suicide and be gone. I'm already resigning to that, right? But if I flip the script and change what the inner dialogue that I'm telling myself and use that pain as my greatest asset, my greatest fuel to move me forward, then, that's just power and money in the bank, right? And for me, it was those suicide attempts, man, and just seeing where the path I was going down. I jumped up to 232 pounds at my heaviest, and I was a big ball of suicidal depression. Nobody wanted to be around me. I was using crazy amounts of alcohol, weed, and other stuff to really try and hide and mask my pain, and I turned into the worst version of myself. And I just really hit a point to where dude, this is just not a sustainable way of life. I don't even want to be around me so much so that I'm literally trying to take my life right now. I need a change. This isn't living.
So how do you, if anyone spent time around me long enough knows that I can get pretty dark. My negative self, as we all do. How do you stay consistent after 7.5 years? Because there's a lot of people that listen to this are mental health advocates. I've been talking about mental health before it was cool, because no one wanted to talk about it when I was that way a long time ago, especially in sports and athletics. That's blackballed. Now it's becoming the norm, which is amazing, and I couldn't be happier that sports are doing it. How the hell did you stay consistent for 7.5 years without a community behind you?
Oh, dude, trust me, I was incredibly inconsistent. Probably the first 3-4 years, it was alcohol, it was parties, it was just being the worst, dumbest version of myself. Just putting all my pain on other people, just through saying the dumbest, most hurtful things that I could say, and really not understanding what it was that I was saying, just because I was always just so completely holding myself in a state of, I just don't want to feel anything.
Just dissociation.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, once I hit that point, it's probably been maybe like 4 years now that, you know, I've really tried to be consistent in my mindset. You know, and the things that I tell myself, like I said, inner dialogue for me is absolutely crucial. You know, the things I tell myself, I wake up every morning with like just this enormous amount of gratitude and just being thankful for where I'm at. And I look at my girlfriend and I tell her how lucky I am and how lucky are we and how fortunate are we, and really try and start every single day, no matter if it's raining, if it's snowing, if there's an accident outside, if we wake up to sirens and ambulance, it doesn't matter. We are so incredibly fortunate. Today is an incredibly beautiful day. I'm so lucky and fortunate to be in this position right now, and just try and really fall in love with my space and just be where I'm at right now. So
Be at where your feet at, man. That was beautiful.
That's-
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone listening to this podcast, everyone in this room can relate. They've been somewhere maybe not as deep as Dave went, but, you know, where we had to find ourselves. And thanks for sharing that. And just thanks for being real, because a lot of people see the social media life and think that everything's perfect with everyone's life and this, that, and the third. And like it's not like that for real life, right? There's going to be inconsistencies. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. We're in a wave, right? So thank you for that, because it's not always going to be sunshine, right? You're going to have to battle. You're going to have to regain your composure. And I think that's kind of what you're alluding to.
yeah, I think, you know, it's showing up every day, right? Like, you don't have to make massive strides. You know, the all or nothing mentality is pretty, I think, detrimental to success. Sometimes, you know, just focusing on those small incremental gains and understanding that, you know, just not moving backwards, or like even if you do take a step backwards, understanding that, okay, well, that still could be a springboard to moving forward, right? But like just showing up every day, putting in a little bit of work, you know, giving yourself grace for where you're at, and just saying, okay, you know, what's tomorrow? I'm going to show up tomorrow, and I'm just going to show up with what I have, whether it's pain, whether it's fear. You know, I literally don't have a left foot right now. It's like I show up for the day, and I do what I can for today, and I give myself the grace that I can't, you know, train right now or run or get on the bike and do what I want to do, but I'm showing up and doing what I can.
You have a more positive attitude than most people with a left foot.
100%. 100%. How? And this is. I have a lot to say, as I usually do. I just want to know, how do you give yourself grace with that big of an external factor? So like me, if I have a baby at home, you have two. You have kids?
I don't know.
No kids. Javon?
No kids.
No kids. If Murphy, and shout out to my amazing wife Cassie, but if Murphy sleeps for an hour total, I give myself an excuse subconsciously the next day, like, oh, well, you know, this is why I'm off. This is why I'm a little off here. This is why I'm short-tempered here. I'm getting back into my journaling routine. I don't think we stand a chance without routine in life. I don't think anyone stands a chance without a routine, period. How do you get past giving yourself that excuse? And I'm not saying it's an excuse, but do you know what I'm saying? How do you get past that external factor that is in your face every single day, that my kid's not sleeping? Well, your life is literally completely different. How do you get past that?
To me, it's just, you know, it's having a healthy routine. Number one, I think that, like you said, having a healthy routine for moving forward is incredibly, incredibly important. Mm-hmm. Even when you don't want to, you're too tired or whatever. Okay, well, you know, maybe going outside and running isn't great for my body today, so I'm going to do this instead. Mm-hmm. Or just like really having a playbook of different things that you can go to, whether, you know, like for me, I can't run right now. So I wasn't supposed to be training for 4 weeks or sweating for a month after my last surgery, right? Mm-hmm. I'm fresh out of a surgery.
Yeah.
So it's understanding that I have a ton of energy and I have to put that somewhere else. So where can I utilize that energy where I can be moving forward in some way? So like, for instance, I couldn't work out for 4 weeks, so I decided to write a business plan for a company that I want to start. I decided to work on my sponsorship letter for different companies that I want to start reaching out to. I worked on my athlete bio. I worked on my racing resume. You know, I'm working with foundation, so I've been making phone calls and trying to reach out to the city and local companies, trying to build relationships. So there's other ways that you can put that energy and still be, you know, moving forward. But I think that it's just finding a way to move forward, really.
Perfect.
Slow motion is better than no motion.
That's a
right.
fact.
That's right.
So my big thing as well is I think we're all organic relationships. Me and him met in football. I want to get into the story how me and you met. I met you through Frank, through Dak, through the gym. It's one big circle. Do you, in business and in life, all of us get pitched, right? We all get pitched certain things. Me and you talk about it on a daily day. For people who don't know, me and Frank have been training together for 2.5 years. He's my client. He's my friend. He's also a mentor of mine. I don't hang out with people that I don't look up to. I wouldn't take advice from. That's a fact. So how did we meet, right? And how did that initial organic, the black sheep in both of us, how did that help us move forward together? And I'm just trying to give kids or anyone who's listening to this an idea into how to build a community around yourself. Because we could go on a vacation, us four right now, we wouldn't fight. We'd get along because we all work out. We all have crazy routines. We're into affirmations, journaling, reading, self-progression, business, right? There's like 7 key factors right there.
It's huge.
Yeah, so how do we meet?
The thing about Fleet Feet is the world sees us as a shoe store, but really, the truth is we're a community hub. Much like Black Sheep.
Can you, you're not going to flex yourself, but how many people do you have in your running community?
We train 1,500 people a year. For different races or events. So, yeah, it's a big group. But beyond that, really, our stores are really clubhouses most of the day.
I love that.
People come in. A couple of our stores have little coffee shops in them. People come in and just flip open the laptop to work. They come in and tell us about their latest races. Sometimes we call our team shoe tenders because that's what it is. People come in just to talk about what they're doing, their races, their next goals, their big ideas. So we bring community together. That's the secret sauce of Fleet Feet, and we appreciate when we meet other businesses or foundations or organizations in town that help facilitate that community. And we've been doing it for 20 years. So how I met you, I got to give you a little credit. Being an entrepreneur myself, I appreciate the hustle. So I don't remember what year it was. Maybe it was right before the pandemic, but I was
It was 2020.
Was it 20? So it was in the middle of the pandemic.
It was 2020, yeah.
So I had no triathlon season in 2020, and I was probably down on myself one day. I remember sitting in the kitchen telling my wife, I need to do something different next year. My performance had kind of off. It had not been getting much better because I was doing the same thing over and over. I was training the same way every year, and I was like, man, I need to start training. I don't need to swim, bike, and run anymore. I need to start doing something in the gym. Literally, I had that conversation with my wife, and I'm Googling gyms in Cincinnati and stuff, and I don't know. I'm not like an LA Fitness kind of guy. I wasn't going to do that. And the next day, I'm going out and getting mail, walking in the mailbox, and I see this flyer. It's Black Sheep Performance, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I had seen it when I Googled. I'd seen Black Sheep, and I was like, okay, what is this place? And I just, whatever the little postcard said, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh shit, this thing's a mile from my house. I'm going to go check this out. And so I don't know if I think there's a get more information thing on your website. Yeah. So I just filled it out. I was like, hey, I'm a triathlete. I don't know if I belong here. You're close. Here are my goals, whatever. And within an hour, I'm sure one of you guys reached out. I think, Pat, you said, let's meet. So what I like about this story is I remember coming into the office. You guys hadn't even officially opened yet, which I didn't know. You didn't even tell me that. I thought you'd been there for 10 years. I don't know. And you just sat me down and you're like, hey, what are your goals? Who are you? What are you doing? And within 10 minutes, we were having a very open conversation. I was being very honest with you about I'm unhappy with my performance. I'm a elite athlete, but I need to do better, and here are my weaknesses. And you basically were like, let's go. Here's what I do. And you convinced me in a very, you didn't do or say anything, but I just felt it. I was like, okay, I'm at the right place. And I think we just started a week later, and the rest is history.
We might even started the next day.
Yeah. It was very, very quickly. And, you said some nice things. You'd heard of Fleet Feet and knew about the community. And at that point, I knew I was at the right place. Yeah. And it's just proven that it was a good decision every day I go in there.
My whole point in Frank telling us that, and I would like to elaborate on it with each one of us, is people who listen to this or have conversations with you one-on-one hit you up in your DMs. I'm sure you get flooded with questions, right? There's hundreds of people who look up to you but are stuck. Same with me and you in business. When we didn't have anyone to look up to. It's we were started at 21 and 19. There was no one to look to. So for people listening to this, I like Gary Vee a lot because he talks about people who are in their 50s and 60s aren't done. You feel sorry for yourself. You're not done. You can't start. What's the base of my foundation is honesty and truth and rooted in it. And that's a long time because I've been best friends with this dude, and this dude will tell you to your face hardcore what it is. So my thing is, how are we going to help other people listening to this to build a community? Because that's the start of our community. Our community is now merged.
Yep.
Now we have black sheep trainers warming up people for 1,500 people for a race. That's beautiful. But the foundation and the connection was built off honesty. So what advice do we have for people that are trying to start a community bigger than themselves, that don't put it's not Frank DeJulius shoes. It's not Javon and Patrick training gym. You know, you're not going to start a company called Dave Performance Recovery. It's just not in our DNA, or I don't think we would hang out. Mm-hmm. So what do you think some key factors and people listening to this, or that might think it's too late to start a community, where do you start?
I think it's just about being vulnerable. I think too many people puff themselves up and don't let themselves shine, the real self shine, and they don't let the world in. Mm-hmm. I think community starts when the barriers break down. And, you know, that's why, you know, we had that initial very honest, in my opinion, conversation. So if I could come to you and say, hey, you know, here are my weaknesses, or here are the things I struggle with, or here's how I want to get better, and I'm open to help. Like, I'm willing to learn from anyone. That brings other people in, and then that's when true, like, symbiotic relationships begin. And to me, that's community, because then you attract more people, and more people, more people. All of a sudden, it's this magnetic thing. So for me, it's about being vulnerable.
It's beautiful.
I think being vulnerable is probably the best word for it. It really is. You know, it's being honest with where you're at. You know, like, not a lot of it's not sexy to talk about, you know, things that you're not good at, right?
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, you know, I mean, for me, trying to build a community right now, it's like, all right, well, you know, I'm trying to build a community of adaptive athletes, and that's not really here right now, but I have to, you know, make myself vulnerable and say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I can do, this is how I do it, kind of thing. You know, does anybody want to go out and go on a run with me? It may not look great, doesn't have to look great, may not even be able to run, may have to be able to do it in a wheelchair. However you got to do it, you know, let's do it. So, you know, I think being vulnerable is definitely huge. But also, like, you don't need to know everything, right? You know, the degree of separation, you know, between people, like how we met, is so incredibly small that if you reach out to someone, even like Frank, you know, great guy, massive heart, you know, fantastic network. I'm sure, you know, if you go to someone, you know, and be vulnerable and say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do, this is what I'm trying to build, you know, this is where I'm at. How can we help each other? How can we make our community stronger? What can we do? Or, you know, can you point me in the right direction? And there's always going to be somebody that wants to help, but it's it's putting yourself out there. It's being vulnerable, and it's being very honest. But yeah, I mean, ultimately it kind of comes down to you and being also, you know, brave enough to do it, right? Like, it's
easy to talk about what you're good at.
Yeah,
absolutely.
100%. I would agree with what each of these fellas said, and just paying attention to signs. You know, Rick Rubin, one of the best producers ever, talks about how he finds, you know, his clues from the universe on how he makes his music on time every single time he's looking. Why? Because he pays attention to the sign. Nipsey Hussle says you can look a gift horse in the mouth and not know what you're looking at. I'm just the one that knows what I'm looking at, right? So pay attention to the signs. The universe works for you, not against you. So if you're seeking your frequency in life, you're seeking out help, you're going to find your help, right? Being vulnerable is huge, because you're going to find common grounds. Once you break down those barriers, you're going to find a lot more out about that person, and there's more in common than what you thought you had. And they know other people like that, and these people know other people like that. And then you just start getting around the right energy, and, you know, the community, boom.
That's one of my favorite parts about, you know, our training, and I'm sure you see this every day as well, but the first day of a 17-week training block, there's a couple hundred people in our store about ready to go for a run, and every one of them believes they don't belong, they're the worst runner there, and they should probably just go home. 17 weeks later, they're all friends. They all just crushed a goal. A lot of them look physically different. Their motivation is bigger. Their self-esteem is bigger. That's what I'm addicted to.
It's like magic.
Like, to hell with the shoes. That is what I'm addicted to.
100%.
Seeing that transformation in people.
I think the common denominator of community is taking action. And I think that taking action is the hardest thing to do. The first step is the hardest step. the first mile sucks. You came in with a T-shirt with it said
Fire.
the first mile sucks.
Fire.
I took it so spiritually deep the second I saw that. I'm like, dude, that the first meditation sucks. The first cold plunge sucks. The first cold call sucks. The first the first I'm broke. The first of everything sucks. But taking action, everything else happens after that. And I think if people who are listening to this could literally take action, whether that's in a shitty relationship, taking control and ownership, take action on it. Get out or get in. Taking action and working out. Don't run 2 miles, take 10 steps.
Yeah.
Don't hit a 225 on a bench press. Try to do 5 wall push-ups. Just taking action in a direction where you're trying to head, you'd be shocked the momentum that you can create by yourself, and then you'd be shocked with social media, with people like us. If you walk into our gym and be like, I got this and this idea, I'd be like, yeah, sit down. Let's talk. Let's do this. And I think taking action is the most important thing. So it leads me into the big question, and the reason that I'm very curious is I want to know your actual story, and if you're comfortable telling it.
Yeah.
And once we get into that, I think it's time that we can have some fun on this podcast and get some laughs. But I want people to know, because I hear on a daily basis, and Javon hears it even more than I do because he's the president of our company and takes every call now, how bad people feel about themselves.
Mm.
Oh, God.
Truly bad about themselves, right? And I'm not saying that people don't have legitimate reasons, chemical imbalances to feel bad or to actually be depressed or anxiety. I've taken medicine for all of the above. That's okay. What happened and how the hell did you get to where you're at now? That's, like I said, it's a 7.5-year struggle, but people don't understand, I think, how deep you've come and how far you've actually come. It's an amazing, amazing story, and only tell what you're comfortable telling. It's the same story about his tragic car accident, and it's only as much as you want to tell, but I want people at home to know that what they're going through doesn't have to be alone, and it's not as bad as you think.
No, it's never as bad as we think. You know, there's that famous saying, right? We suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. And Seneca, right? One of all time.
We can talk. We can
never heard
get
that.
down to the Stoic quote. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I wholeheartedly believe that it's never as bad as we think it is. But yeah, so going into my story a little bit. Like I said, I just turned 25 when I was injured. I was injured in a work accident, had my foot crushed by a piece of equipment that I was trying to move. I kept yelling at my partner, move the equipment, move the effing equipment.
Yeah.
So many words. Dude statued up, just completely froze. I went to push it off my leg. When I did that, I tore everything on the bottom of my foot. So yeah, it was incredibly heavy, incredibly painful. I took off my shoe that I was wearing at the time and looked at my foot. Didn't really look that bad.
Really?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, like it did not look that bad.
The top of your foot.
Yeah, the top of my foot. I didn't really
Complete adrenaline dump, though. Right?
Complete yeah. So I was like, yeah, just give me a minute. I'm gonna try and chill out for a little bit. Give my foot a chance to kind of relax or whatever. And I tried putting on my boot. Boot wouldn't go on. I ended up putting it on as best as I could, and I tried to take a step. My foot wasn't working, and I was like, all right, so something a little more serious is happening right now. So, yeah.
It's the reason why he's a triathlete, too.
100%. And
it's not an easy sport.
There's
and it takes a
conversations
mindset,
I asked Javon and you, and now I'll be asking you because you're in my community. You guys run insane distances and do crazy shit.
I'm not there yet. I'm working my way to
I think you run way more than I do. So my thing is like, I asked Frank, it's like, dude, if I gave you $1 million or your family's life depended on it, how many miles could you run in a row? And he's like, I don't know, like way more than 50. I'm like, I can't even.
I said 50. I said 50.
Well, and I said money, then I said family, and you said more than 50.
Yeah.
So my thing is, what are you telling yourself on these crazy trail runs and long marathons, and what is the internal dialogue?
Yeah.
And I want to go into you because being a sprinter, high jumper, it's the same thing.
Short distance.
What do you, I'm an alligator. I'm even shorter than you, babe. I'll go about 20, 30 meters. I'm dangerous. What do you tell yourself on those long runs?
When I started, I don't think I told myself anything. I don't think I used the mental side as a young athlete. It was purely physical.
Mm-hmm.
But as you age and as you learn and you meet people and you go through life, what I tell myself now, and it's very appropriate that you're here, And I've learned a lot of this from you and in Black Sheep. But man, I have a really good life. I have a very, very comfortable life, and I worked my ass off to get that.
Yeah.
But I have to put myself in positions that are very uncomfortable, and I just so happen to like to do it for a very long time. So when I'm out there grueling and suffering, like I can't even use that word. I mean, I'm suffering because I'm choosing on a Sunday morning to go out and run for a long period of time. Like, you should beat me over the head.
Yeah,
That isn't
facts.
suffering.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't gone through bankruptcy or lost my home. I haven't, had major loss of, friends or family. I mean, I have gone through that stuff,
Yeah.
but I tell myself, man up, because what you're doing right now is not suffering. Does it hurt a little bit? Sure. Is anyone making me do this? No. Can I probably go a little faster, a little farther, a little longer? Yeah. This isn't suffering. This is just man
Hell
up.
yeah.
So it's just great perspective, and I love hearing David's story. And you've helped me with certain things about intentionality, going places. I remember the first time you said, you probably don't remember this, but I said something. The first year working together, Pat, was our main goal was to strengthen my knee. That I one knee's weaker than the other, and I said that.
Not no more.
We were doing something, right? We were doing some kind of bilateral thing, and I said, man, that right knee's kind of weak. And you without even thinking, you said, there's no weakness in this gym.
Period.
Don't say weakness. Never did again.
It's a thought.
And it was just like, that's a mentality. So I don't know. That's what I tell myself, that what I'm doing is not suffering.
That's massive, man. I mean, again, to kind of go back to my thing a little bit, is what you tell yourself, right? And for me, like, when I couldn't run, I wasn't able to run for like 6.5 years, right? But it was never that I can't run. It was, I can't run right now, right? Or, it was never like, oh crap, I'm too weak. It's, I'm not strong enough right now. And it's leaving that door open in your mind psychologically for that opportunity to happen, because I feel like that's also really important, is to not close a door, especially psychologically, before the event even happens, or before you even really allow the event to occur, right? So like really just reframing the things that you tell yourself.
It's funny, as runners, and I know as probably athletes as well, there are days in that I wake up and I don't want to run, or like you said, you make excuses in your head that you're tired or something, but then you get injured and you can't. And then you're like, wait a minute, was I really saying that I didn't want to? Because when you can't do something, like I get to do this, like I'm able to run. So this is something that I'm able to do. So I'm going to take full advantage of it and be happy about it, because when it's taken away from me, all I want is to do it more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
And that's my mindset. I could no longer play football, but I like to compete. When I'm running, I'm really just competing with me. I get to do that. It's a privilege for me. I don't see it as like anything outside of that. Like I'm super grateful that I'm able to run, physically able to run. I'm capable of doing that. And then at the same time, as we start to fatigue out a little bit, I just tell myself, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Like, other people can't do this. You have the ability to do it, so you better do it to the fullest. Period.
I got a funny story about Javon running. So,
Hold on.
I'm going to tell the truth. So we're at my bachelor party, Key West, Florida. Okay, a whole lot of 1942 and cigars were done. I'm talking like an immense amount.
Hey, Papa Coyne was not
He was
happy.
not. My dad was not ready. He was like, "These cost 125. You guys went through 6 in 60 minutes." It's like, hell yes, we did. So long story short, I definitely wasn't a runner at this time. I just fell in love with golf. I've lifted weights since 7th grade and will never stop lifting weights. So hell no, I was not going to work out in Key West. So we wake up. I wake up and I'm an early riser. Like, we're all early risers. I know that me and him are like excessively early risers, like 4:45, 5, blah, blah, blah. I'm sleeping until 7:15. That's like down there. We went to bed at 4. Like, it's not like we went to bed at
hours.
9 a.m. or 9 p.m. I wake up out of my mind, kind of groggy, and like walk around. There's like dead bodies all over the house. People are just, Yates is on the floor. Like, the doors are open, wind's blowing through. And I'm like, where's Javon? Oh shit. Because, we had a good night. You never know.
Yeah, did he make it?
Yeah, is he good? Is he in the water? Is he? And I literally look in front. I walk around the front of. So we're facing the water, and I walk around the front of the house, and I'm literally standing on a balcony, like one eye still open, and this dude is doing sprints.
Come on, that's awesome.
I swewer to God,
and forth,
dude
let's
was
go.
up with me doing sprints,
get
and
it.
I literally. That's the first time in my head I'm like, there's another level of man.
Yeah.
There is another level of man. And I
get
ain't,
the
What got
opportunity.
you up? What,
no, but and he's like, match me, bitch. Like, I'm like, no, dude, I don't got that, bro. I don't
Yeah.
have that in the tank right now.
You're in
And
Key West, Florida.
Yeah.
Look at
Last
the
thing I'm doing is-
vibes, the views.
I'm gonna
like,
sit
dude,
on
I
my
have to get
ass
this.
Sweat
and
it out
look
a
at
little
the
bit?
vibes.
Yeah, okay.
I can look at my vibes with a good Cohiba and an orange juice. I don't need to go sprint, but that kind of mentality around me is like I like to keep myself around people that are hardcore. Same thing. You're like, hey, I ran to the gym today. I'm like, you did what? Bro, I've been to your house many times. That's a solid drive.
Yeah.
That's a 4-minute drive.
No,
Like,
it's probably like 5.
2.5 miles. Yeah.
that's before the workout. Then
Right.
you're gonna. Well, I'm gonna go run home. Like, oh. But long story short is, I think keeping people around you that make you scratch your head. And I know there's certain things that I've probably done that people are like, man, I don't, and that's cool. That's great. That's why I'm here. But keeping people around you to question the norm of reality, like what is possible? What is the human brain and body actually capable of? It's capable of things that you figured it out, of things that were completely past our own wildest expectations, which leads me to my last point. Will you or anyone in your life, other than our amazing women in our lives, right? We all married out of kicked our coverage, as I always say. Will you ever meet your own expectation of your reality? Will you ever meet your own expectation?
That's a duality.
Yeah.
That's an honest, open-ended question.
You want to meet it,
Will you?
but if you meet it, it's not set high enough, in my opinion.
So always chasing is better than actually
Not
arriving.
necessarily chasing. I'm not saying that. Like, just never being complacent.
Yeah.
I like to keep pushing that standard forward, right? So this year, it's been 2022, one of the best years of my life. Just turned 28. 27 was amazing. Now I need to push that forward. I need to raise it up a little bit more.
Absolutely.
I didn't meet it, but I know where I can go.
Do you think always chasing and resetting expectations leads to emptiness, though?
No, I think small victories are important. You know, like you said, like
That's
you
something
gotta-
you've really helped me with at the gym.
Yeah, like you gotta take a moment to celebrate whatever that small thing is.
Mm-hmm.
Reset, be thankful and grateful for that, and then go. Okay, I could do better.
Mhm.
What's next?
Stack up on it.
So
What about you, Dave?
I think that it is incredibly important to keep growing, keep evolving. You know, for me, it's you know, my goal last season in triathlon was very much you know, to compete nationally and be nationally ranked, and I met that goal. And you know, next season I want to race internationally. I want to represent the U.S. on the international circuit and do some of the international races.
I hope you do.
I appreciate that. I do as well. But you know, it's I am incredibly happy and incredibly grateful where I am, but I also have an enormous amount of I'm not content. I'm very much so not content with where I'm at. I forever want to be growing and pushing my bar and raising my bar and understanding. For me, it's not, you know, how high can I go or how far can I go. It's I want to see where I go next. You know, it's I really want to keep challenging myself, and you know, it's that growth mindset, and it's understanding that, you know, there's more in the tank. There's always a little bit more to give. Maybe it's in a different distance, maybe it's in a different way, but it's moving forward however I can, and just always being hungry. And I think that, you know, trying to always be you know, the better version of yourself just kind of helps me with that.
In a positive way. If you can, you should.
Yeah.
That's my biggest affirmation in the morning is abundance is reality, not scarcity and fear. But I'm very big into affirmations, reading, journaling. I'm honest about this is that I don't know if I ever will. It gives me awful anxiety. I'm just going to be honest about it. It keeps me up at night. I sweat about it. Javon tells me to calm the hell down all the time. So does Cassidy. I think all of us have internal drive that sometimes can be pushed to the limit, which gets us to places where we're not always comfortable with. And Javon sometimes will look at me and be like, man, I don't understand why I have anxiety. Well, shit, I don't either.
It's not rational.
Right.
Like, I don't
We had a
either.
deep
You know, I just,
discussion
it's just
about
kind of
that.
here. It's here. And yeah, and Frank will look at me some days and I'll be like, man, like this, and this happened. He's like, Pat, did you hear what you said? You literally hit a goal a year and a half before you told me, or you told me 6 months ago you did that, and you did it in 2 months. And
because when you're in it, you
exactly
can't get to that 30,000-foot view.
For the overachievers, though, I'm trying to give them peace of mind to know that they're not alone, that not ever meeting your expectation. I like to meet an expectation at home. My business self and my home self are two different men. I'm a dad and a husband. When I go home, I meet those expectations. I'm always there. I'm always striving to be better, but I'm content, happy. The second I go into physical training or business, the door's ripped off. I'm ready to freaking throttle it. And, it can get me to bad places sometimes. But for you and you, who apparently I'm jealous, you don't struggle with some of those things that I do. How the hell did you get there? Because you tell me it's like, dude, 15 years of business. I promise you'll feel this way. And I've made some better changes.
Yeah.
But how did you get there to where you're like, dude, I'm just content to be here?
That's a tough roadmap to lay out, but I think you end up, you grind for so long that you have to give yourself some grace. You have to give yourself those small victories. And, I think you get to a point where you just realize that you either could just always be hungry, but you also have to be happy. And let the small things roll off your back. Allow yourself to get way up high and see how far you've come. And at the end of the day, like, we're doing this to be happy. I'm not doing this to sell more shoes than I did last year. And, there's all the business stuff, and that's fine. But we underestimate, or we don't give ourselves enough credit a lot of times. So I think the way I got there is I took a step back and I said, like, this is my life. I'll be 40 in 2 months. And there's no reason why I shouldn't just be elated with where I've gotten to in my life, whatever it is. Maybe I've fallen short of some of my goals. Maybe I've exceeded other goals, but where I am in this moment, I'm happy about it.
It's where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, it's where I'm supposed to be. So
Frank's my Buddha.
I love that.
Twice a week. He gets me
love
right
that.
mentally.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, I lost the question.
No, it's cool. So do you, essentially, just like you said, like I was saying, it gives me anxiety. How have you reached those goals? Because with you, it's very different. You're always setting new goals because you have an external factor that kind of is hot and cold or up and down, and maybe it's another surgery or the prosthetic's not working correctly or the weather doesn't permit. I don't know. How do you stay consistently, I don't want to say content, but not let that give you like FOMO and fear of missing out and anxiety? Like, I suffer from that awful. If you don't suffer from that, I would love to know how.
Yeah, dude, I really, really want to talk to you about like the power that you're giving your anxiety and how you're framing what it is that you're telling yourself. Because I really feel like there is, you are able to feed and empower whatever it is that you want to take away from different things. And for me, like a sense of, or a state of neutrality, rather, just like letting something be what it is. It doesn't have to be positive, like being positive all the time and, thinking that everything is going to be candy canes and rainbows and everything's going to be good all the time. Like, that's not realistic, and you're going to call bullshit on that,
Facts.
when it's not possible. But living in a state of neutrality when things can't be good and just not feeding negative, like, there's a lot of power in just being in that space. And there's even a college football coach who was talking about, and I can't remember who the coach was or where he was at, but he was talking about how he had just started coaching a team. The team wasn't doing great. They had a horrible record. And then he challenged the team just to not say anything negative. And he was like, if I could just get my players to not be negative and not like, oh, crap, I didn't catch a ball. Oh, crap, I'm so stupid. Like, that's so incredibly detrimental. And we're always listening to what it is. We are what we eat. Like, there is so much power into how we are framing things. So, like, I've been really good about not giving power to my anxiety, right? Like, not living in the future and trying to predict outcomes. Like, that is the quickest way to develop anxiety, right? Like, you have no idea how it's going to play out. Let it be what it is. Go through the steps. Let the steps be what they are. The steps don't have to be good. They don't have to be bad. The steps can just be the steps. And then you're going to be further than when you started, right? So, in terms of little victories, celebrate that victory. Like, you took each step. You did the best that you could with every step. There's a lot of power in that.
Facts. Now with
I know we got to bounce, but one more thing,
Ooh.
just to be clear.
What's your hourly
'cause
rate?
That was great.
yeah, I want to say, welcome to Black Sheep Experience Jewelers.
And so that's like I don't want to just misrepresent here and think like I have no anxiety. Or,
Yeah.
Like I literally wake up every day back against the wall, and it probably is a little unreasonable. And I think there's a balance there. So I like that you have that anxiety. I don't want it to overtake you. I think we should all listen to what this guy's got to say, but it is part of business.
And the hardest thing is I am so well read and well versed, and I know how to do it. It's the constant struggle to know,
Just do it.
but not always do. We're going to talk to him in a year from now.
Yeah.
We're going to be like, "You feel
ready?"
this shit yet?" No,
You ready
man.
to
I respect each one of you. I thank you for your time. I think we should continue this conversation once the microphones go off somewhere else. But thank you so much for sharing this time with us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
for having
No
us.
And with that, we're going to end this episode. Thanks.